going to do a little nighttime chat. Okay? It's dark and quiet in the house, and I wanted to do RavenFlower's 2022 tag. I was tagged by Owlvine, and felt so honored that she wanted to hear my responses, so here it is. So let's just get right back into this. I paraphrased the prompts to hell, so I don't know what they really are, but I will leave the link to Raven's original video below, and to Owlvine since I was tagged in hers. So I hope that I get the prompts right. Okay, number 1 is New Year's resolutions. Do you believe in them? To an extent, yeah. I think the idea of goals is good, but I am not a goal setter. I think it's the rebel in me. I think that I don't know, every time I put a thing down, it's just like something like, you're not going to tell me what to do. You know, it's like the paper screams back at me or something. But I do like proclamations for myself. I do like, or have a word of the year. I have an energy that I want to bring to the year. But more of that, like, it's more so that I want it to be in relation to the bull crap that I endured the year before. So it's not anything like specific, I guess. It's more, I have certain, like, I guess I would call them goals, but it's not attainable goals. It's more like things that I'll that I back things with, more or less, I guess you could say. My camera setup is always like really precarious, so I'm just gonna like hold the camera here. But anyways, number 3, because she's got some whys and why nots in place of a question, so I'll answer those as we go. So number 3 is, do you have a favorite color? I do. Since I was little, my favorite color has always been green, but it's been like an olive green. This is a brown. Actually, you know what? It's like the color of my eyes. Ooh, does that sound conceited? It's really not my eye color. It is my eye color, but it's for different reasons. And it's always been my favorite color is green. Shades and shades of green. The next question was, does it have, and I'm trying to think of the next question, does it have a magical or emotional meaning behind it? Not particularly. It's just always been that. It's just always been my go-to. I do believe, though, that colors in general have magical properties. Like, in terms of alchemy, and I paint, like I'm an artist, so I like how colors mix. I like the properties of colors when they're mixing. So I think that has some kind of alchemical, magical thing for me, but that's like all colors. But my favorite color doesn't necessarily have a specific thing. I have paraphrased this, and it says, do you use substances? No. For health reasons, I can't drink alcohol. I mean, I have before, but I can't anymore. And nothing's legal here in terms of narcotics, so that's out. I do have lots of herbs in the garden that I guess at their base level could be considered, like, I've got some salvia plants in there, and at their base, chemical level, they're hallucinogens. So I do put those in some of my oils and some of my sage sticks. But I don't know. I guess the answer to this question would be no. And I guess, well, the next question is why or why not? Why or why not? Many reasons, I guess. I've used certain, like, the herbs that I make my oils or my sprays, like my room sprays, stuff like that. Like, when I make those homemade, it makes me feel like that protection or that spell or whatever that intention, I'll say intention, is put behind it. It makes it feel better. It's not a necessary thing to me per se, but it does kind of make it, like, it gives it a little oomph, Favorite part of your witchcraft? I love this question. My favorite part is results. I'll tell you a story. The other night, I was being sad. Okay, I was being sad. I was probably PMSing, and I was sad, and I was tending the fire, and it was like one of those the first times we ever had to have a fire in the fireplace, and I was tending the fire, and I was crying, and I was sad, and I was really bogged down with the fact that we haven't gotten a full on winter here yet. Like, I think the coldest it has gotten so far is like 32 degrees Fahrenheit, which is just freezing. So we haven't really had like a full blown winter, and I was kind of bogged down by that. Like, it was cold enough to have a fire in the fireplace, but it's not like snowing or nothing like that, you know. And I love winter; it's my favorite. And so I was bogged down, and I started chanting in this what I call a language that doesn't exist. I do that. I think Joey Morris years ago used to call that soul speech. I've been doing this forever, and it just feels very it just feels right for me to do that. When I get bogged down with emotions, I just start, chanting in this language that no one knows or no one would know. And I started doing that, and I was pouring all of this like sad stuff into the fire and doing some kind of like, crazy form of hearth magic. And anyway, I left and did some things around the house, and then around midnight, I'm in the bed, and my husband comes in there, and he's like, "It's snowing," and I was like, "Are you kidding me?" Seriously. And I go outside, and for like the next hour, like midnight to 1 a.m., it was snowing, you guys. It was snowing, and it was probably like inside that hour, it's probably like just at 30 or 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so not enough to like sustain it, but it was snowing. And knowing the weather patterns, knowing everything that was going on that night, I knew that wasn't supposed to happen, right? And I was like, my magic did this. Holy shit. And it's like those results that you get that you're like, because sometimes stuff happens and you don't know, like in the beginning. I'll touch on this in a minute, but it's like sometimes you know and sometimes you don't know, And so that's like my favorite part. My least favorite part goes with one of the last questions, and that is, are you public or private? And I was raised Christian. I was raised like pretty, I'll say, severe dogmatic Christian, and there was a lot of trauma to unpack there for me, and there's still a lot of things that are taboo here where I live in the Bible Belt. And so those kind of that gut-wrenching feeling that like your own parents won't understand your path, it's like almost like closed-mindedness. I still have to have really rough conversations with my parents about like my own children, like they're my children, and about how like lectures from my parents about how they need to be in church, stuff like that. That's hard to deal with. Like for instance, I'll give you another story. The other day, my dad was in the area, like for something totally unrelated, and was like, "Hey, I'm in the area. Why don't I stop by and see you guys?" And I was like, "Sure, But he walks in and he sees like my decks and like my witchy books and my skulls on the mantle, and one of the first things out of his mouth is, "Why do you have this stuff out? Like, can't you put this up? It's not Halloween. What are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, you don't pay my bills, Dad." But he's still your dad, and you still love him, and you wish that the acceptance was there, but deep down that it's not. And that if you were to come out and just say it, or you were to just come out and like even try to talk about it in a healthy way with your family, and in your heart of hearts that the conversation won't lead to an accepting place, a safe place for you mentally. So right now, it's the safest place, but that's the worst part of my witchcraft, is that I can't, when good things happen, or when bad things happen, and you're using the craft, and just like I said, those paradigm shifting results that you have, you want to like call everyone and be like, "Oh my God, guess what happened? I made the snow," And it just doesn't happen like that, and that's largely why I love the concept of community, if that's a thing, I want to, when you meet like-minded individuals, it's so cool to like chat with them about stuff like this. And that's so important, I think, for mental health, is to have like-minded friends, even when you're disagreeing about things. Because a lot of these questions, I feel like I have my own opinions about that are like not conventional. So I guess that would be my least favorite thing, is not having anyone to share it with. And like I said about being in the Bible Belt, I don't have like a witchy community here. It just doesn't, it's not a thing. You know, like when I walk into Walmart, it's very much, God bless you, you know, Jesus loves you, you know. And you wish sometimes that there would be like more generalized statements coming out of these people's mouths, but it's just not a thing here. So it's just like the things like that, you know, that's like personally what I have to deal with. How's your practice grown? Okay, I'm gonna say this. Confidence. When I was a young witch, I had no I just had so much self-doubt that I was like, oh, you know, I don't know if this is gonna work, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And, you know, it's like, now it's like, this is gonna fucking work, you know, this dollar bill's on this candle, I've carved this sigil into it, this is gonna work, you know. And it's just like, I feel like I have more confidence to back up those things, and I have less self-doubt. I'm not saying I don't have any doubt, but I think the confidence to back up certain things, that's been like the most thing that's changed over the years. And I will say this, openness. I will say that when you're first starting out and you're reading all these books, or you're doing, you know, you're watching these people, or, you know, you're reading the articles about witchcraft, and they all kind of say the same things, but, you know, like for me, for instance, casting circles was never something that resonated, right? But every book said to, right? And it took a while to tweak what you read and what you, like, you know, what your research tells you. But listening to your own intuition about the craft, that was something that has changed over the years too, is the amount of personality I've put behind the craft. That has been truly revolutionary for me, is to take it all in and then don't forget to weed it all out, you know, like weed it back, sift it like a sieve, you know, right back out again. So I guess that's how it's grown. A show or movie that inspires you. I've made a couple videos on this already. I love to share my findings about stuff like this, because not too long ago, I made a video about this like witchy horror movie called Suspiria. I watched that for like a bullshit reason, like just to get entertained, because it just said something about witchcraft in the synopsis. And not to mention, I have a huge crush on Tilda Swinton. Okay, come on. And I watched it, and I really gave it my all, right? It wasn't some like, you know, watch it for 30 minutes, see if you like it kind of a thing. I really sat down and I really tried to, you know, watch it, get immersed in it. And I had some visions, you guys. I was having visions about this like collective unconscious place for witches, and I did a video on that. I'll leave it in the cards for you if you're interested. But I get inspired all the time. But I will say that I mean, there's so many movies and shows out there that go into the spiritual witchcraft genre now, like Discovery of Witches. Holy shit, is that not like you just like watch, it's like you think you've got the aunts, right? Basically they're not, but I mean they're a couple, and that's great. But you watch like Em and Sarah doing their, you know, their witchy stuff, and it, like practical stuff, like she scries, right? She's got her sage stick, and you're like, this is on TV, you know. And that's so good. But there's a lot of things that I watch. Posted a video about getting inspired by Stargirl, a Disney movie that I watched because I was feeling low that day. It had nothing to do with witchcraft, but it did impact me. It did impact me in a way that I wanted to do self-love spells after that, you know? Like, I wanted to find out what made me like Stargirl. And so when I watch shows, it doesn't necessarily have to be witchy. That will still inevitably inspire me. So I think my advice here is to try to find the magic in whatever you're watching, whatever you're reading. Try to find the magic in everything you do. So, do you have a familiar? No, but I mean, I guess no. Now I have Missy, who's been my dog for a couple of years now. She's old. She's an old black lab and Great Dane, so she's huge, okay? And I will say that the story I told earlier about me sitting at the hearth, you know, animals can feel energies, right? And they can feel your moods. And she goes over, like, she comes over and like sits with me, and she's like 100 pounds, okay? But she thinks she's a lap dog, and she'll like sit in my lap when I'm sad. And when I was chanting, her ears would perk up, right? Like somehow it was going through her, almost like it was Hecatean, okay? I'm just going to say that her sitting there, her ears perked while I'm soul speaking in this language that nobody knows, okay? It felt like I was talking straight to Hecate, okay? It just is what it is. It just felt like that. So I guess in those terms, it does kind of happen with Missy sometimes, but I never really thought that familiars were on this plane of existence. I thought that they were like on other planes of existence, I guess, like on the astral. But on the astral, I don't have animal guides. I have what I consider entities. They're like floaty figures. They don't really look like humans. They look more like spirits, I guess, just like spiritual in nature entities, like almost like servitors, like what you would think servitors look like. That's what the entities on the astral look like. But anyway, I digress. I don't know. So yes and no, I guess. YouTube channels. I follow so many, but if I had to do a pie graph of like what I watch on YouTube, it's mostly tarot content. Because I'm a tarot girl, I'm a card girl, and so I gravitate towards that type of content. But you know, I've been watching witchy channels forever. And I mean, I will say that I know I was reading some comments on some other videos like this, tag videos, because I love to do that. And one person was like, you know, why doesn't anyone have their channel, you know, like when you go to a YouTube channel, it says like, you know, videos, playlists, community, channels, and then like everyone's blank now. There is a reason. First of all, it's more than just witchcraft and tarot on that channel list that I follow, okay? Plenty of other stuff. And a lot of stuff that is private, you know? It's like music, or it's lifestyle things. That's one thing. But then also, you don't want that to become something like, oh, this is my recommended channel list. Because that's not what it is. I don't think that that's what it is at all. I guess it could be curated to that. But with the millions of people on YouTube, I mean, it would be so tough to, you know, knock it all down. And it's a lot easy to put your channels there, have people think that those are your recommended channels, and then clicks start happening. And that's not what it's about. It's not about being clicky. It's about following who resonates with you, you know? Go find those people that resonate with you. So I don't want to put any channels here for that reason, you know? Because I could name all the channels that I follow, but I want it to be it needs to be curated to you. Go find a witch, you know, that you resonate with. Or several. Something you do in your craft or in your life daily that keeps the mental goblins at bay. Two things that I do consider part of my craft and part of like mental stability is reading. I have to read something, whether it's one of my novels that I'm currently reading, which I read a lot of novels, or like my witchy books. Something in my witchy book, I'll just like thumb through that. So reading is something I have to do every day, and that does keep the mental goblins at bay. And then journaling, I'll write something down in one of my little handy dandy notebooks every day. That's something. And something that's not witchy that I do is like when I wake up, okay? I wake up, go pee, come in here into the kitchen, put on my coffee. And then while it's brewing, I open the back door and I take a big, deep breath of fresh air. It's not necessarily witchy, but it's something that I do. It's like something important to me that I do, that it's like that's my first deep breath is fresh air, you know? It's just something I do. Obstacle that you face that you think is now a blessing. In terms of craft, that could be a lot of things. Self-doubt, imposter syndrome, stuff that you're still dealing with on a daily basis. I think that life experience is different for everyone. And I think that whatever you've endured in your real life and in your craft has the potential to morph what your craft is today, right now. And so I think that that's you know, it's kind of personal. I think for me, it was definitely getting raised in that very severe dogmatic Christianity. Um, and I'm not saying that the religion is, okay, there's nothing wrong with that. There's plenty of things that are good that I got that are good from that. But it did shape me. It did shape me as a witch to have lived through that and to still have family that lectures me about that, even though I'm an adult. And that still, the people that I knew that did certain things that led to trauma, childhood trauma of mine, still, it still sits with me when I do certain witchcraft. Or certain things in my witchcraft, I'll say. So that's probably my biggest obstacle. And the biggest obstacle that I'm facing now in terms of the craft is the sharing thing. Is the sharing. You know, I know another comment on one of the other tag videos was, it's hard to find depth. You know, it's like, what do you mean? Do you want all the witches that you follow to give you all the answers? Because I don't think that works that way. Because we're not all the same. Every single witch that does this tag does things completely different, and I think that's so beautiful. I think that we get little nuggets of good things from every single person, and you know, some nuggets are bigger than others. I will grant, but it's like, you know, the problem is like, what do I share? What do I share? What do I say? What do I say now? What do I not say? What do I try to keep to myself so that, you know, it's not whatever my opinion is on this. Maybe it gets shunned. I don't know, you know? So again, that goes into imposter syndrome, but that's probably another thing that is an obstacle right now. It's not necessarily craft. It's just life, you know? When to share, what to share. Am I too personal? Am I not personal enough? You know? What are you embarrassed about, right? Like, I'm embarrassed about my kitchen. It's just always messy, you guys. So when I want to go in there and I want to do something witchy and share it with you guys, I'm like, I have to, it's like, no amount of deep clean is going to make me want to feel yes about this, you know? It's not a movie star kitchen. I guess that's an obstacle. Which platform do you prefer? Right now, I'm not really out there on socials. I have YouTube and I have Instagram. And I have a love-hate relationship with both of them. With Instagram, I do a lot of DMs with the people that I keep up with on a regular basis. I DM with them through Instagram. That's more of a private thing, you know, that I do on there. And then I'll rarely go through the feed. Mostly I go through the stories to see what people are up to. Or like I said, I'll do the DM thing. I rarely post on there. I mean, if I get gung-ho, I will. But mostly it's YouTube. It's YouTube that has become like my TV. I'll like watch a whole bunch of stuff and try to comment where I can. But I guess if I had to pick, it'd be YouTube of the two. But those are the only two I have. So, what do you think is missing from the witchy community? I will say that almost like RavenFlower, it's just like, you know, goes on to authenticity, you know? If you can't share something, or if you really don't want to share something about your witchcraft, that's okay. If you want to share it all, that's also okay. I think that we're all trying to do our best. I think that, like, the first witch I ever followed was Lady Grave Dancer. And if I ever get to Texas Girl, I'm going to look you up, okay? But she used to do such practical videos, like, years ago. She would make, like, oils, and she'd be, like, on the floor in her bedroom, you know? And it'd be messy, and she'd have herbs everywhere. And then she'd do witchy hauls with, like, 1,000 things of incense, because she loves incense. And it's just like those everyday practical witchcraft videos we don't do, because everyone's afraid of sharing too much, or not sharing enough, or with the, you know, especially now with the pandemic, you know, we don't really get out to have hauls anymore. So that's a thing. And we don't really make anything, because we've learned over the years that if we share a recipe, like an oil recipe, it'll be for sale on somebody else's channel tomorrow. And it's like, hold up. You just commented how much you loved this on my channel yesterday. You know, I'm not saying that everyone like steals. Okay. It's not about that. I'm just saying that that's a thing that we've learned, is that when we share vulnerable things about things we've made with our bare hands, or things that we want to share with community, we may get, you know, shafted, and that takes a hit, that hits us in a way, you know. So we've learned to kind of back off of what we share. But then it seems like the community is lacking. Everyone's still there, you know. They're just not sharing those in-depth videos anymore of those, you know, how to make, what is it, road opening oil anymore, because we're so afraid that somebody's not going to take our videos for what they are. The beautiful pieces of beautiful pieces that they are of information, that they're, you know, it's almost like we feel like we're going to get taken advantage of for that, for being the in-depth people. If we're putting out stuff and they're in-depth and vulnerable, somebody's going to take advantage of that. And to keep ourselves safe, Jesus, Missy's fingernails are long as hell. I think that there's such a fine line between sharing and, you know, putting yourself out there and then not being safe about it. So it's just like finding that good balance, I think. Anyways, I digress. Do you have, like, what space do you use for supplies? I don't have a specific space. I have one witchy table, okay, that is like what I call my witchy catch-all. It just kind of holds all my witchy stuff, and it's easier for me to, like, shove everything in drawers when people come over and stuff, as sad as that is. But I don't have tools, I guess. I don't have, like, tools, because if I have to, like, carve something in a candle, I'm going to use a butter knife, and that's in my kitchen. And then if I do have a spell or a working, I'll do it usually out in the yard, or I'll do it like here on the coffee table. Like my coffee table's sitting right here. I'll sit on the couch on my ass and do it on the coffee table. Like I'm like a no nonsense witch when it comes to shit like that. And I don't have an altar because my house is so small. I don't have a space for like a full blown altar. But I will say this, I do consider my whole entire house to be an altar. So stuff's everywhere. And whatever I need at that given point, I'm just like, go to wherever that's it, where it is, and pluck it. And then make sure I put it back when I'm done, even though sometimes that doesn't work out. Favorite Sabbath. I don't really follow the Wheel of the Year, per se. I have a 4-fold system in my witchcraft, which is the MMC, but I call it the 4 M's. You know, the MMC is Maiden Mother Crone, but I follow Maiden Mother Matriarch and Mort, which is death. So it's 4 M's for me. And death is my favorite time. Working with the crone, working with winter and all of her goodness, mini goodness. I work with a whole bunch of archetypes within that sphere of death and the mort time of the year, which happens like, it's like Yule to Imbolc, right? That's like my death time. Really, I guess. It's more than that, but we're not going to get into that right now. And I feel like that time is my favorite. Winter. Venerate winter. Venerate death. The death of the year. Because I feel like every single Sabbath none of it's about bringing the winter in. None of it's about like the sun, you know? Let's bring the sun back. And it's like, I'd like it to be dark for a little while longer. And like here, we don't get a winter. So I venerate that even harder. But it all goes on to where you're at, you know, in the world and what you want more of. I think I venerate it because I want more of it. I venerate it more, I guess you could say, or I like it more. So it's basically Yule and Imbolc together. I've like kind of mashed them together. Divination. I'm a card girl. I don't want to say cards as in like all types, but tarot and oracle mainly. And then in terms of divination, like overall, it's tarot, oracle, and scrying. Scrying was my absolute first form of divination I ever did. And I was a girl when I did it. And it's just always been there for me. Scrying has always been there for me. And then, of course, as I learned tarot, that became like my favorite thing. And then, like, this is my oracle deck that I just made. Shameless self-promotion here. But look at this rebirth card of the snake. My ring light's going to, like, make it, look at that slimy ass snake for rebirth there. Linked below. Anyway, this I love it. I've been working with this a lot lately. So, yeah, divination, tarot, oracle, and scrying. Are you a private or a public witch. Public because I'm on YouTube about my witchcraft, pretty boisterous about certain things on YouTube, but private to a lot of people in my life, like in my real life and family. None of my family knows. It's just, it's safe for me to be private with them about it. So, who are you going to tag in this video? I will say, I know that this is going to irk some people. But if you are a practitioner, I won't even call you a witch. If you are a practitioner of magic and you have a channel, let us know below. Let us know below, first and foremost, so that we can all go follow you and your beautiful, witchy, magical, practicing goodness. I'm going to add another question that I'm curious about. I hope RavenFlower is okay with that. If money was not an object, what witchy thing would you buy right now? If money wasn't an object. Mine, I have like a piece of hair in my thumb. Mine is one of them gigantic crystal balls. A little one ain't gonna do that. It's not gonna cut it, you know? I want a big one. I want a big one. Maybe a crystal skull, but I want my crystal skull to be like life size. I love skulls. I always love skulls. I have a few, you know, bullshit Halloween ones, but I would love a crystal one. But I want that thing big. I want it massive, and I want it heavy. I want that thing to be able to kill somebody. So those are the two things that I would buy if money was no object. So that'd be like my question that's tagged in the bottom of this video. But if you're a practitioner or, you know, you have a channel, let us know. Do this tag. Along with, you know, put RavenFlower's tag on here, which will be linked, I guess, probably in the description. And anyway, I hope to make some new friends through this, and hope to see everyone again on the channel. Much love.